My name is Aurelie Cormier, and welcome to the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show, where we set an intention to create healing and wellness every living day. Let me ask you, have you felt sometimes that life is just hard? Wonder if I told you that our life is actually meant for joy, fun, and good health. Of course, it doesn't just happen, but the first step to getting there is to believe that good health is possible and to envision what you would love. From there, we can choose the simple health habits that give our minds, bodies, and spirits the nourishment it needs to work well. Over 2 million people in the U.S. will be diagnosed with cancer this year. Between 600,000 and 1 million are preventable. Our genes are not our destiny, yet our epigenetics can be affected by environmental factors. Therefore, the best time to make a difference is now. So let's dive right in.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat, and I'm going to kick this right over to Aurelie. Here's the show. Vaccines, what we need to know to keep ourselves and our kids safe. And this goes deep for you. People don't know exactly who you are and what you do. They can look at all the certifications behind you, but you're everyday working with cancer patients or parents. You're immersed in watching this happen. Right. So the conversation today isn't whether you're right, you're wrong, different, indifferent. It's what the bleep you should know, right?
Right.
Let's get at it.
Yeah, because this is a really contemporary topic, and I wanted to bring it up because there's so much confusion, and a lot of parents don't, or a lot of just people in general don't know what to think anymore, who to believe. So I just want to bring some information to you that I think will be helpful. I have worked in, acute care, oncology, medical floors, surgical floors, bone marrow transplant, for many years, over 40 years. And now do a lot of cancer prevention. And I wanted to bring this topic because there were two examples early in my career that really highlighted to me how important vaccines were. Sometimes we think, oh, well, nobody gets polio anymore. Well, that's not true. And I remember in the early 1980s, I had a patient that we admitted to our medical floor at a hospital in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and she was quadriplegic. And the reason that she was quadriplegic is she had contracted polio. She had, at the time, babies were vaccinated with the live polio virus. And she had been vaccinated as a child, but there is a 1 in a million chance that even if you're vaccinated, you can still get the disease. And she did.
Yeah.
So she was quadriplegic. It became clear in the time we worked with her that she was going to be quadriplegic for the rest of her life, which meant that she could not move from the neck down. And that meant that she was she was going to have somebody put her baby in her arms. She wasn't going to be able to pick up her baby. It meant that her husband, who, thank God, they had a really great relationship together and he had a really good job, but he had to, get a 24-hour caretaker for their son, a 24-hour caretaker for his wife, and then somebody that could basically take care of the house and keep the house in order. And this was going to go on probably for the rest of their marriage because, this was going to be a permanent situation. And it was heartbreaking to see. She was lovely and she handled it quite well, but, it was not easy. The other situation was I actually had a cousin who was getting ready. She was a twin. She was getting ready for first grade. And it was at a time when vaccines were not mandated before you went to school. So she had been playing that summer and had stepped on a rusty nail and, ended up getting tetanus and died of tetanus before she ever got to first grade. It was devastating for her parents. It was devastating for her twin. And that image never left me. So these are real life situations where we are have a different philosophy in our country about vaccines. Some of these things we may see again. And so what I want to bring to you is things that can help you in your decision making.
Yeah, I want to just comment on tetanus right away.
Yeah.
Um, that is the one thing that when we think about it, people don't know enough. So we don't have time during this show, but I want you all to look it up. I want you to look up what happens because I too stepped on a rusty nail. I
Mhm.
was at a place that I wasn't supposed to be. I built a fort in a dump down the street, stepped on a nail, didn't tell the mom, right? Because I was in trouble. And it wasn't until I wasn't walking that my mom picked up on it. And I got to tell you, they got me just in time,
Yep.
just
Yeah.
in time.
So you're a
So
miracle to be here right now.
I am such a miracle. I can't even begin to tell you. But that's why we're doing the show today, so that people are educated and informed, right?
Right. Yeah. And, we all come into this world with challenges. Nobody leaves this world without challenges.
Dang.
But you know that I'm dedicated to helping people to be healthy and strong because what I've learned, what my patients have taught me over the years, is that while we have challenges, all of these challenges are opportunities to grow, and our life is really meant to be happy and joyful and fun. And so, to try to reduce the number of challenges we have, I want to give you some helpful information or information that I hope you can take for yourself that can be helpful. I think the first thing I want to say is we are very fortunate to live in the United States with one of the greatest healthcare systems for people who are sick. And it took me a long time to realize that as much as I love our healthcare system, I worked in it. I saw miracles happen like yours. I saw a lot of very complicated patients with cancer. We had blood that we could draw. We had radiation, chemo, immunotherapies, uh, x-rays, CAT scans, MRIs, genetic testing we could do on people to help them have the best chance of overcoming their cancers, surviving their cancers, and in some cases be cured and to be healed of their cancers. But we can also, we do have some mechanisms within our government and our healthcare system to prevent illnesses, and vaccines are one of them. And that's why I really want to highlight it today. I was really surprised to find out. You will never guess. When do you think the first vaccine was developed, Dr. Pat?
I don't know. I'll tell you, growing up as a kid, before I could even breathe, we were given vaccines.
Yeah.
So I
So the
don't know
first
when the
one
first.
was 1798, if you can believe that, by a man
Wow.
named Edward Jenner. And what he noticed is that milkmaids who developed these little pustules on their skin were immune to smallpox. And he said, we got to do a little research study on this. And this would never happen today. He decided to do a research study on an 8-year-old boy named James Phipps. And James was a very courageous boy because what Edward Jenner did to him is he took some of the pus from one of the milkmaids and injected it into James's skin and inoculated him with it. And sure enough,
Wow.
James became immune to smallpox.
Hmm.
So that was the first vaccine that we had. And then about 100 years later, Louis Pasteur came up with the first bacterial vaccine, which was against chicken cholera. And then 5 years later, developed the second one, which was actually a viral vaccine. And that was against rabies, which was life-saving for many people. If you ever got bit by a wild animal,
Yeah.
you didn't want to get rabies for sure.
No, and back then, let's just be very clear. Back
Yeah,
then, the prevalence of animals that were untreated that roam freely
right,
was 100-fold to what we
right,
have today. They were not domesticated. They were everywhere.
right. And so what ended up happening is in the last 100 years, because the technology became available, a lot of vaccines that we have today were developed. And we are so fortunate to have them. But the majority of our vaccines are really given in childhood to try to give children the best chance of living into adulthood, because up until the early 1900s, most people didn't live past 49 years old.
No, no.
And it's only been in the last, 70 years that now our life is extended to about 78, and for some people 90 and 100, which is pretty amazing. But there's three main types of vaccines. One are the inactivated forms, and that's what most of our vaccines are, like measles, mumps, rubella. Then there are the activated forms, the live forms of the vaccines, which are things like flu mist, or in the old days, the live polio virus, but we don't have live polio
No.
virus anymore. It's all inactivated. And the third type is what they call a recombinant vaccine, which is a part of either a protein, a sugar, or a shell of the virus. And then, by injecting that in our muscle, then our immune system builds up defenses against that to help us to be immune. The thing to keep in mind about vaccines is you do want to get them about 3 weeks before you need them, because it takes about that long for your immune system to build up immunity. So
Yeah, I waited too long here this go around. I learned a lesson that I never want to learn again. And not enough time to talk about it, but I'm going to do a show on it.
Oh, good.
But people don't know the 3 week thing. They
Right,
don't know that. So
right,
what you just shared, that clip right there, that is golden. They
right,
think I get the vaccine, I'm good.
right. No, it takes 3 weeks. And there's actually about 26 vaccines available in the United States today. For kids in our, world, they get about 14 to 17 of them over the course of their childhood. And because there's so much debate about what's going on with vaccines, I want to give you some points to really help you to think about. This is not to tell you things, this is for you to have information that then you can make the best decision for yourself and your children. One is that I want you to know is that vaccines have been tested extensively. These were not taken lightly. They were tested to be effective. Were they of benefit, and did they cause harm? And the vaccines we have today, even like the vaccines that sometimes are promoted as causing autism, that has been debunked. That they've tested that, had done many, many studies looking at it from different angles. That has never been proven that vaccines cause autism. There are other things that can cause autism, but that doesn't seem to be one of them. And the CDC and the FDA have been made up of panels of experts. They're not just any doctor. They just don't pick doctors out of a hat and say, oh, fill this seat. They are taking doctors that specialize in this particular type of disease or vaccine. And what they do is they analyze them extensively. They scrutinize them. They weigh in on what these different pharmaceutical companies, the data that they have gotten to say either, 49% of people recovered after 3 months or responded after 6 months, but they look very carefully at the data. And it goes through a whole process. So there's very strict guidelines for interpretation. The other thing I want you to know, that as a healthcare professional, for myself, I do trust the science. I have worked with some incredibly bright physicians. And are there some bad actors out there? Sure, there are. I don't know any career where there aren't bad actors somewhere. But I can tell you, most of the physicians, healthcare professionals I've worked with, whether that be nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, physical therapists, they are people that care, they love the science, they are dedicated, they want to make a difference. And so, these are people that are working hard every day to help you to, have a better life. The other thing that I want to say is that parents know themselves and their children better than anyone. There are people in this country, and what I see, who are working hard every day to give their kids a better life. When you've been a mom and you've carried that baby in your womb, or you have adopted a child and you have brought that child up and taken care of them day in and day out, you know them better than anyone. So the other thing to keep in mind is that you are one of the most important people that is going to be having a conversation with the pediatrician. This isn't something that the pediatrician tells you what to do and then you just accept it. This is the standard in this is that it's shared decision making, and that the parent is given advice, and then the parent makes the decision which is best for their child, their individual child, because as we know, each child is different. So even in the same family, you can have like 5 different people have 5 different kids. And so you should always feel comfortable that you are making, this is a shared decision-making process. I also want to let you know to when you do choose your pediatrician, talk to other people. Don't, what I would say is, especially if you're moving to a new area, talk to neighbors, talk to people in the community and get their opinion. Who are the good pediatricians out there and why do they think they're a good pediatrician? Because I've seen over the years that a lot of times by word of mouth, you will find the person that's going to work well with you, because you want to have similar values to whoever is making those decisions. And if you have teenagers that are older, they're higher in age in the teen years, they can be having shared decision making with the pediatrician too, because now it's their body and they're at an age, once they turn 18, they're considered adults. Are they really adults? I don't know, but they are considered adults. And so they should have agency over their own body. Okay. The other thing that is recommended, I haven't seen this recommended all the time, but is that when your child is getting a shot or a vaccine, only do 2 shots on the same day. And even with the MMR vaccine, which has 3 viruses within, or inactivated viruses within the same shot, it's okay to do that one and another one. But usually, 2 is probably what you want to stick with for one day. And then, talk to your pediatrician. When could the next one be taken?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a month down the road, just to give the immune system a chance to develop immunity to those 2.
Yeah.
Or 4.
Yeah. And I want to throw something in. If you think you're traveling to another country,
Yep.
you need to be looking at that now, because I know, like many of you will wait to the last minute. You'll walk in and order 24 vaccines or shots. And that's not what we're talking about. You really do need to plan travel abroad very seriously, I think.
Oh, absolutely. You brought up a really good point, because when my daughter was in high school, she wanted to, there was an organization called Rustic Pathways, which I can't say enough about. They're absolutely fantastic. If anyone has a teenager that likes adventure, I highly recommend Rustic Pathways. They're top notch. And what they did is they, according to the area that, your child wants to go to, there are certain vaccines that are necessary that are endemic to that area. Like my daughter wanted to do elephant conservation in Thailand. She had to get a yellow fever shot. She had to get she had to take antibiotics for malaria. And then there was one other that she had to get. And so they educated her. They told us, but they educated her why this was important as a group. So
Yeah.
they buy-in from the kids. And she had a fabulous experience. But yeah, it is important before you go to make sure you go way ahead of time to make sure that, first of all, the travel clinic has the vaccine that you need. Because some of these things are very unique, and they may have to order them and get them in.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
there are mandates from government. Let's touch upon that. I know we've got a few minutes left.
yeah.
There are mandates from government. I'll tell you, I don't know how I stand. I have a little different scenario right now today about how I feel about things. However, we have gotten so loose around protecting citizens. And what I mean by that is that we need to have more than just a level of awareness, especially if you're running like a senior center,
Mhm.
right? You really do need to decide, should people be wearing masks? I mean, there's just so many things, but tell us about this. Tell us about where government steps in here and takes measures.
All right. Well, that's a difficult one because it depends upon which government we're talking
Well,
about.
I'm thinking about Governor Healy.
Oh yeah, Maura Healey, she's fantastic. What's really nice is there was a survey that came up about which states have the highest vaccine rates, because what's important is that we have herd immunity. And what do we mean by herd immunity is that 94 to 95% are vaccinated, and then that protects those who are immunocompromised, who are very young, very old, who are more susceptible to some of these bacteria or viruses that they could actually die.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, believe it or not, Massachusetts is #1 in the nation for vaccination, and it's 82%. So that's not even close to herd immunity, which is 94, 95%. All 6 New England states are on the top 10 list, but the one that's second in line after Massachusetts is New Hampshire, and they're only around 72%. So that gives you an idea of how
hmm
many states around the country people aren't
yeah,
vaccinated for herd immunity, and why you can get things like a measles outbreak in Texas and you have a lot of people that die, a lot of children
yeah.
die. But what Maura Healey did, which I'm so grateful for, and she's a champion at really advocating for us here, is she mandated that COVID-19 vaccine had to be given to people that want it, and it would be covered by insurance companies. And I
Yeah,
think that makes a huge difference, because if you know it's
yeah.
covered by the insurance, it's easier for you to get the vaccine.
You don't think twice. This is a great show. Thank you for this. What's your closing message? What do you want to leave us with today?
Well, basically, as I said before, is you are in the driver's seat, but pick your pediatrician carefully. Make sure you ask lots of questions. Um, know that it's part of shared decision making. Protect yourself and your children, because many of these viruses and bacteria, they can cause harm, permanent harm, like meningitis. And for those of you who want to be healthy and strong, like I try to help people, you want to create more happiness and joy in your life, I do have a 2-day free masterclass available. The first half of it starts this Thursday from 7 to 8:15 p.m. on Zoom, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. It's called Envisioning the Life That You Would Love. It's if you go to my website, aureliecormier.com, go to the workshop page, click on the register button, and
Yep.
then it'll bring you to Eventbrite. Click on that. It'll give you a free ticket. The second half of the class is next Tuesday, the 23rd of September, and again, 7 to 8:15 on Zoom. I would love to have you there so you
Yeah.
can think about what you would love in your life as we're getting ready for this transformative period in the world.
Thank you so much for doing that. What a great show, everyone. Thank you all for tuning us in. Lots of information here. If you have any questions, go to Aurelie's website, give her a call. See you all next time.
Okay, bye. You've been listening to the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show with Aurelie Cormier and Dr. Pat. where we set an intention to create healing and wellness every living day. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio every third Tuesday of each month at 11:30 a.m. Pacific and 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more guidance and support. Beyond this, I offer workshops to focus on your good health while reducing risk of disease, especially cancer, so you can do more of what you love and spend less time being sick. What I know for sure is that this is especially beneficial for couples who are pregnant, have young children, or teens, as you will give yourself and kids the greatest chance of living a longer, healthier life. So please join us at the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show. For more information, visit AurelieCormier.com.